Silent Sentinels for women's suffrage. Origins. The term, Silent Sentinels, refers to a group of women activists who protested for women's suffrage in the United States during the early 20th century. National Woman's Party, NWP. The Silent Sentinels were associated with the National Woman's Party, a women's suffrage organization led by Alice Paul and Lucy Burns. White House picketing. The Silent Sentinels gained prominence for picketing outside the White House, starting in January 1917, to demand women's right to vote. Nonviolent protest. The protesters adopted nonviolent tactics, holding banners and silently standing at the gates of the White House to draw attention to their cause. Presidential involvement. The picketing took place during President Woodrow Wilson's administration, urging him to support the suffrage amendment. Suffrage banners and signs. The women carried banners with slogans such as, "Mr. President," "How long must women wait for liberty," and "Kaiser Wilson." Impactful symbolism. The Silent Sentinels' silent protest was a powerful and symbolic demonstration of the persistence and determination of the suffragists. Response to opposition. The suffragists faced opposition and hostility, with some arrested for obstructing traffic and other charges during their pickets. Imprisonment and hunger strikes. Many Silent Sentinels were arrested and subjected to harsh treatment, leading some to undertake hunger strikes in prison. The Night of Terror, 1917. On November 14, 1917, a group of suffragists, including Silent Sentinels, was brutally treated in what became known as the Night of Terror at the Occoquan Workhouse. Wilson's shift in support. President Wilson's stance on suffrage shifted as a response to the ongoing protests, and he eventually expressed support for the 19th Amendment. 19th Amendment. The efforts of the Silent Sentinels and other suffragists contributed to the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920, granting women the right to vote. Role in the suffrage movement. The Silent Sentinels played a crucial role in the broader suffrage movement, advocating for change on both state and federal levels. Persistence. The picketing outside the White House continued for months, demonstrating the suffragists' resilience in the face of adversity. Impact on public opinion. The Silent Sentinels' protests garnered significant media attention, influencing public opinion and creating momentum for the suffrage cause. International inspiration. The Silent Sentinels inspired suffragist movements in other countries, showcasing the effectiveness of nonviolent protest. Alice Paul's leadership. Alice Paul, a key figure in the suffrage movement, played a leadership role in organizing the Silent Sentinels and advocating for women's rights. Connection to Seneca Falls Convention. The Silent Sentinels' activism drew inspiration from the Seneca Falls Convention of 1848, a landmark event in the early women's rights movement. Legacy of activism. The activism of the Silent Sentinels is remembered as a pivotal moment in the fight for women's suffrage, contributing to the broader narrative of women's rights. Post-19th Amendment activism. After the passage of the 19th Amendment, many Silent Sentinels continued to advocate for women's rights, contributing to subsequent waves of feminism. Recognition and commemoration. The Silent Sentinels are commemorated for their bravery and contributions to the suffrage movement through monuments, plaques, and historical recognition. Influence on civil rights movements. The suffragists' nonviolent approach influenced later civil rights movements, demonstrating the power of peaceful protest for social change. Intersectional activism. The Silent Sentinels engaged in intersectional activism, advocating for the rights of all women, regardless of race or class. Educational impact. The story of the Silent Sentinels is incorporated into educational curricula to teach about the history of women's suffrage and activism. Continued relevance. The legacy of the Silent Sentinels remains relevant today, inspiring ongoing efforts to promote gender equality and women's rights.